Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, and good night, wherever you're in the world. I know it's pretty early in the morning, California still, and well, not that much. What is it, 11? Yeah, it's not early in the morning, but it's pretty late at night in some other areas of the world. So, hey, everybody, this is Fernando Sustaida with my guest Jeff Hunter today. And one thing we're going to be talking about today is VAs, virtual assistants. One thing that we're gonna be covering is the importance of having one of those. For the longest time, when I started my business, when I left my 9 to 5, I thought I was never gonna have to have employees. I never was gonna have to have somebody report to me. I was tired. I was in management. I didn't want to deal with them. And year after year, I kept looking at my numbers, and they were not growing. I was just a glass ceiling that I keep hitting. And until one day, I got a coach, and it's like, okay, let's look at your numbers. Let's look at your productivity. And they're like, man, your productivity is that you're a one-man show doing 8 different hats, and you are not being able to grow because you are doing dumb stuff that you could be paying someone very minimum wages to be doing for you, and your business is going to skyrocket. You do that. The day I decided to go into getting my first help, I saw a dramatic change in productivity. Now I have 4 people in my staff and growing it more. So that's what I want to have, Jeff. I know a lot of you are in print on demand. You have no idea how to design. You have no idea how to do keywords. You have no idea how to do research. And you're trying to learn all 3 of these aspects, plus more, accounting, time management, all this stuff. And you're like, what do I do? Where do I learn? Well, you don't have to learn everything. That's the secret, right? You have to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. You outsource them for as much as you can afford to outsource. And with it, having said that, hey Jeff, welcome. The microphone is all yours.
Oh man, well, thanks for having me on the show. First off, what you just said right before you introed me here, like the last words you said was as much as you can afford. It's funny because a lot of people say that to me. They'll say, I really want a virtual assistant, but like I can't afford one right now. What's interesting is I can't imagine like life without a virtual assistant, because the very first thing that I always do is figure out a way for them to make me money, right? And it just flips everything on the head, because let's say that you've got someone who's doing prospecting for you. Let's just, since we're on the print on demand university, let's keep it on e-com side. I mean, how worth it would it be for you to be able to identify local retailers or companies that are probably, using, what like Inc.com or whatever the big brands are that are doing this stuff, print on demand. And, they're getting crappy quality, or they're waiting 2 or 3 weeks for their stuff to come in, and you could do a better job. And you just had your virtual assistant go and spend 2 or 3 hours a day finding potential clients for you, right? And let's just say you spend $1,500 for a virtual assistant in a month. How much is an average order? How much is an average deal? 2,000, 3,000? Let's say your profit margin's 30, 40%. So if you get a $3,000 order and you have a 50% margin, it's paid for that VA on one deal, right? So for me, I look at it as at least a neutral hiring. That's what I call it, neutral hiring, to where like everybody that I hire makes me money. So the question about, I'd love to have a VA, but I can't afford one. It's a really kind of ignorant question, because you haven't thought of ways to grow your revenue stream that you don't have to do, right?
Yes, I mean, it's like I see a lot of people saying, man, I don't know how to do research. I don't know what selling. I don't know what I want to sell. How many hours are you spending doing that? How many hours are you spinning around looking for ideas, looking for products to sell? But maybe you can have someone that's probably going to charge you $5, $10 an hour, and they can find you in 2, 3 hours all you need to start getting your designs in place and stuff like that. They just gave you a massive opportunity to start making money on an area that you didn't even know how to do. Like, for example, you just said prospecting. I don't have time to prospect. I don't have time to be calling, knocking doors, and for them to tell me no, 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 no. Yes, they're going to tell me yes, but how many no's do I have to get? Is that something I cannot source in a way that I can allow somebody else to go get the no's and then finally find me the yes? The answer is yes. It could take me the whole day before I find a couple of customers that are willing to pay, for whatever I have to offer. But that is their job. That is the responsibility. Now I can focus on what is actually making me money today. The things that I know that are working, the things that I know, or I can focus on closing the prospects that they can bring me, or they can do many other activities like accounting. I don't want to be doing my small tracking of royalties and fees and how much money I owe in affiliate or stuff like that. They can do that for me, and they tell me this is your balance. Go and execute it. I'm like, thank God I don't have to do accounting. So it is a blessing when you find that answer that you don't have to do everything yourself. It becomes now what you were supposed to do, not to have a job.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that is very dangerous, and I feel all of us do this, is if I'm in a room full of entrepreneurs and I ask them why they started their business, you know what the number one resounding answer is? It's always the same answer, by the way. Freedom. Everyone always says they started their business so they can have freedom. But the irony is that most business owners don't have freedom. They usually have created a job for themselves. And now, instead of working 40 hours a week for someone else, they're working 80 hours a week for themselves. And they call that freedom, right? And, this is why I think what you touched on earlier was super, super important, because first off, I don't even like the word outsourcing. It has a dirty connotation to it, because for me, if you think about outsourcing, I mean, do you mow your own lawn? I don't. I have a guy. I pay him $50 a month and he mows my lawn, right? He comes twice a week, every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
He comes and he mows my lawn twice a month. Do you take, I don't change my own oil. I don't do my own mechanical work. Would that be called outsourcing? Yeah. I mean, so what I do is I call it upsourcing and downsourcing. So upsourcing is like funnels and email campaign automation and, like all these things that like graphic design or web design and, like designing the brand for this hat and getting it uploaded on, whatever you're using, Printful or whoever, right? And then flipping that around, downsourcing is stuff that isn't the best use of your time, like updating all your images and upload, like let's say you have a product directory of products you're going to get done, you're white labeling it, or you're a third party vendor or whatever, you got to upload product images and copy and paste descriptions and all that kind of low end stuff, or prospecting, like we talked about earlier, just doing data scraping, lead generation. Another thing that's super important for me is meeting minutes. Every time I'm on a call with a potential client or with an existing client, I have my assistant on that call and he takes notes. His name's Tristan. He takes all the notes for the call, anything that's important, what we discussed, what the actions item are, sends over the email afterwards with a link to pay or whatever the thing is afterwards, right? Checks my emails, sends my invoices. Like these are all things that I used to have to do myself, just like HR. Like I have a person who does HR and sends all the payments to everybody. I have 125 people on my team right now. Imagine if I spent that long verifying payments, making sure that people clock their hours right, that people are, not trying to rip me off, that they're active on, that they're actually getting results for my clients, and then manually sending 125 payments to people, like that's insane. But yet this is what most entrepreneurs have accepted as normal for a business owner, right? That we're basically overworked and underpaid, and we've created a job for ourselves. And that's why I feel like, the thing that's happened with the pandemic, it's funny because people are like, we have a job shortage right now. They're saying that we have a labor shortage, right? Like people don't want to go back to work. It's not that they don't want to go back to work. It's just that most people have finally had a great excuse to be paid at home on unemployment and start their own little venture, right? Whether it's a print on demand company, whether it's that, web marketing agency they thought about doing for a while, or whatever these opportunities are. Maybe they would start to do social media management. Like these are all the things that normal people have ideas to do. But it's like people are kind of like realizing that, hey, maybe, just maybe, I could have a life of actual freedom, So
Yeah,
that's why I love doing this, by the way, because I actually, my goal is to help people get real freedom, right?
I was talking to my mentor Gregory yesterday or the day past yesterday, and we were actually talking about that. That we're in the middle of, like, they call it the Great Recession right now, in something that is being called the Great Resignation, which is like all these people that were working from home are finding out that we have been working from home for 16 years now, why we like it, why we love it, and how we can go right now to the beach and be there 1 week, and still working our laptops in the morning and pretend that we're at work, but we are literally on vacation, and now they're doing that. They're like, I don't want to go back to the office. I want to do this, so they're actually telling their bosses, hey, we need to find a solution on how I'm going to do my job now, continuing in this format, or I'm going to have to go, because they are learning that freedom is something that is not a dream. It's actually a possibility. I have a lot of people in the print on demand industry that always tells me having a secondary business, it's too much, because I have to work my 9 to 5, which in reality is more like 12 to 5, because you work in the morning, you get dressed, you get drive, you get to work, you get that 1 hour lunch, and then you work 104 hours, and then you have to drive back home. And by the time you do it, it's a 12-hour day. And I said, in top of that, I have to take care of my family, and then I start my business in 2-3 hours. This is impossible. Well, it's not really impossible. You just hire someone that you can pay a couple hours to be doing some work for you while you're at work, and whatever money you're making in this business, just put it back into someone to maybe use a wash of money for a while, but before you realize, they're gonna build you a business for you to eventually say, hey, something is working. Because when you're burned out from a 12-hour day and you work 1 hour, 2 hours a day, you're not giving them your best, especially when you're doing tedious work that you just don't like. But if you give the tedious work for somebody to do while you are away from this small business, you are building something in the long term. So it's a lot of ways to utilize virtual assistants other than help you grow your business. Sometimes he can just help you get a business started, which a lot of people don't take that into consideration.
No, that's absolutely right. And for me, a lot of times people always ask me, like, what can a virtual assistant do? So a lot of the content that I put out for my business from a marketing perspective is just helping people understand what they can do, because it's interesting how I'm still learning, like I just have like, what I learn a lot from my clients, because I have a lot of amazing clients that use our VAs to do a bunch of stuff. One of them, she's a publicist, and she does a lot of public relations. And she was talking about how she's trained her VA, who is one of my VAs that works for her, taught her how to respond to these like requests for experts. They're called HARO, HARO, helper reporter out is what it's called. But a lot of times these requests will come in from reporters looking for experts on certain topics. And then she has the VA scan them every morning to check and see if there's any that fits the experts that she works with on the publicist side. And I was like, wow, That's genius. I didn't even think about that. Like there's just one thing right there that I could just have my VA check that email and look to see if there's anything about virtual teams or marketing or branding. And if it's something that interests me, send it to me. And I could, either write a response, or I have a bunch of pre-written responses he could probably modify and send back, another thing is, like, I think you and I both know Arnie Giske. He's the guy who runs the millennial entrepreneur community. And what's really interesting about that is he actually has been a good friend of mine and client for years. But some of the stuff that he's having his VA do, like group management. So he runs most of his business through Facebook groups, and he pulls people in to the Facebook group, and he has his VA welcome everybody to the group, tag them on the post, answer questions, moderate the group, delete the spammers, you know how that is, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh shoot, there's another one. So like every day I'm learning from other clients how to use VAs. Endless possibilities. This is the thing I love about a virtual assistant, because unlike a computer, like look at this fancy computer I got on my desk. Look at this. Look how fancy. Isn't that cool? I got this fancy computer on my desk, but guess what? Every day this loses value. Every day it is less valuable than it was the day before. Unlike my virtual assistants, who every day learn and grow and become more valuable every day.
And that is a fact, yes. And I know Arnie actually, we both have Gloria Ochoa in our teams. He trained her a lot in groups, and I'm thinking about
the same glow.
Yes, the same glow.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, she works with his VA.
Yeah.
And you know what? He loves his VA so much that he's become a case study on our website, and he just got done buying his VA a brand new laptop, like a G15 Dell gaming laptop. Like,
yeah, that was to Mishu or something like that. That's the other new assistant that he has. Yes, he did.
It's unbelievable, and he just did that. We just did it like last week. It was incredible, and like that's the types of things that people don't understand, especially because a lot of our VAs, they are in the Philippines, and like this is, if anyone's listening, this advice is gold. This is a hard lesson that I had to learn. I have never ever hiring a virtual assistant again. You heard it correctly. I'm never hiring a virtual assistant ever again. I don't like hiring virtual assistants because they're trained with a lot of bad habits on what the virtual assistant industry teaches them a virtual assistant is. And a virtual assistant in the industry, if they're being trained to be a virtual assistant, is here's how to charge people $1,000 a month retainer, and you can get 10 different clients and you can make $10,000 a month, and that's how you make 6 figures. And what happens is you never really, like the client's never happy. They're always chasing new clients, because who the hell is going to be happy when you're juggling 10 people, right? And it's really not focused on service, it's focused on income. So what I do is I actually actively recruit people that have 3 main abilities. The first is the ability to adapt. How fast can you adapt? How good are you at learning new things? To me, that is like number 1 priority. How fast are you at learning new things? Adaptability. The second is work ethic. Do they show up? Are they exceptionally happy? Are they proactive? Right? Are they really engaged, and they don't make excuses? They don't come up with ways, oh, I'm sick today. Oh, people that are constantly sick, they're excusers, And then the third one is they have to demonstrate that they give a damn. Are they the type of person that if they get sick or if there is an emergency, they call you and they come up with a game plan to cover that shift, or do they just not show up, right? Because those are the three things that are most important to me. And ironically, you can't teach those things, right? Now, if someone possesses those three things, I can teach them damn near anything. So what I do is I look for people that have technical support roles. I love recruiting people that have backgrounds in technology companies, especially American companies like Google, Microsoft, Shopify, Canva.com is the latest one I recruited. I recruited somebody who is the recruiter for Canva.com. And so these people, they are already used to no excuse culture. Found in technology companies. There's that. Especially American companies like Google, Microsoft. Oh, it's playing back to us now.
It's making you sure that you listen to yourself.
It likes me so much, it's listening to me twice.
Yes, and I agree. I have a virtual assistant right now that I have known her for 4 or 5 years. She used to be the personal assistant of an old friend. The old friend decided to retire, and she asked me, "Hey, would you like to, give me an opportunity?" I'm like, "Sure." I mean, I have always deal with her, in different roles because we used to connect, and I just realized that she has a lot of bad habits, from the time that he used to work with him. She wants to do everything the way he wanted things done. I'm like, you need to adapt. You need to change. I don't like it that way. I don't need that. I don't need this, and that. I'm only asking for this. Only focus on this. And the difference is that her previous boss used to also live in Philippines. So he was very used to the drop of the internet and stuff like that. And she always disappears for a day or two, sometimes for a week. And she says, "Sorry, my internet was gone." I'm like, that is not an excuse. Go to any tower, find Wi-Fi, send me a message. At least I know you're alive. I don't know what's going on. And it's going to the point that I'm like, I need to move on. I need to find, somebody else because I cannot, she's not adapting. She's been here for 6 months. I like to call her work, but she's giving me more than I need. I don't need that much. I need her to focus on something else. Her hourly rate is drop cheap. That is why I'm accepting, because it's less than I would probably pay somebody else. But it's starting to become a burden because it's not dependable on where we're going. Sometimes it's making me slow in my processes, and that is not the purpose. You want somebody who is going to be adapting. He's going to be, is going to have ethics and say, "Hey, my internet is down. Let me find a coffee shop or something where I can go, or at least send them a text message with my phone saying, Fernando, I can find internet on a Starbucks, but I have a PC. I cannot carry it with me. I am not going to be present for a couple of days. At least let us know."
You know what, though, Fernando? This is exactly why I was telling you about those three things, right? Because the second one is that work ethic and reliability, right? Yeah. Because here's the thing. I don't have that excuse on my team. Imagine having 125 people, probably 100 of them or more are in the Philippines, and I don't accept that excuse. Someone can't tell me, "Oh, my internet or power's out," because I tell them, "Here's a UPS battery backup power supply. I'll even pay for it," right? And by the way, now the internet is so good in the Philippines and so cheap. It used to be expensive. Now it's so cheap that everyone in the Philippines, everyone has an iPhone or some sort of an Android smartphone. And guess what? It only costs about $1 a week for internet. And if they get like the fastest, longest plan, it's still only like $10 a week. Okay. So, and by the way, they can turn that on at any time. So they don't even have to pay for it until they need it. They can literally go on their phone, they type a command, it turns it into a hotspot, and they can connect to their computer, even if they have a desktop, right? And that's why I don't accept that excuse over there. Once in a while, there might be a power outage or whatever. Yeah, okay. But maybe,
it don't happen.
Right, sure. But I can tell you this, the Philippines has changed so much over the past couple of years. I used to have a physical office. In December of 2014, I invested in downtown Makati City in the Philippines, which you probably remember. We've known each other for a long time. But back then I had an office and I had about 26 people working in there. And the reason why is because back in 2014, 2015, the internet was absolute garbage, and it was and the good stuff was unaffordable by the average person. So I got this building because I ran Sky like optical cable to it, and it's in a reliable area in Makati City, which is like the Silicon Valley of the Philippines. We never lost the entire time I was there. The only time we ever lost power was my fault because I installed a second air conditioner in the house, and I ran them both at the same time, and I found out Filipino wiring is not great, and it burned them all up. I had to rewire the whole building, which was expensive. I'm luckily luckily Filipino labor is a little cheaper, because that would have been very expensive here in America.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely.
I looked the entire 5-story building, and I had the penthouse suite, 2,300 square foot up on top. But when I fried the wires, it fried the whole building. So everybody hated me.
Yikes.
Not to mention, we actually had to go and move. I rented 2 hotels in a very expensive area in Makati City, and I basically transferred all of our workstations, because they're all laptops. Thank God they're all laptops. I bought everyone in the office laptops to work on. And one day we just rented 2. We had like 5 or 6 people sitting on the bed working. We had 2. There was no sacred ground. There was the table in the bathroom was turned into a desk. Like everything. Most comfortable seat in there was the toilet with the lid down.
Yeah, but it is dirt cheap. The other day, my assistant, like showed me a picture of her Christmas dinner, and I'm looking at it, and it's like the most fancy seafood, spray, and I'm like, how much is that? And she was like, oh, that was like $20. I'm like, that will be here like $300 to buy that many lobster and stuff like that. And there's like, oh no, fish here is so cheap. I'm like, damn, it was like prawns this big and a bunch of lobsters. And she's like, no, I afforded that with half of the salary this week. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's it's cheap in there. Yeah. But she used to be a nurse, certified nurse, and she says that she makes more money with me that she will ever make as a nurse, which is kind of crazy.
Sad, right? But here's the thing. It's always interesting, because a lot of people, they'll criticize me. They're like, well, you just hire Filipinos because of the cheap labor. And I'm like, no, that's absolutely not it. I hire people that are right fit for the job. You know what? Americans don't like to do a lot of the things I have my executive assistant do. You want proof of this? Hire an American VA and ask them to take your meeting minutes and data scrape and things like that. They don't want to do it, right? It's too much work for Americans. And here's the other thing. It's very interesting, because you want to talk about exploitation. Try being a Filipino and getting a job for another Filipino. Find out what it's like working for a Filipino company and see how much they get paid. See how much they get paid in the Philippines. My own executive assistant was getting $1 an hour working in her previous job. This one, her name's Isabel, who just had a baby, by the way, today, which is why Tristan's filling in for her.
Okay, I was wondering why it was a different one. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Tristan is her backup, because Isabel just had a baby. But Isabel, she graduated from LaSalle University, which is like the equivalent of like our Yale or Princeton. She has a degree in chemical engineering, and it's one of the most prestigious colleges, prestigious degrees you can get. All of her classmates already have jobs, and she decided maybe that's not for her, because one of her classmates, who is now a chemical engineer, is super proud. She just got her job as a chemical engineer, making 12,500 pesos a month, which is $250 US a month.
That's yeah. When you said 2,500 pesos, I'm like, that is nothing. I pay.
Imagine going to college for 5 years, one of the most prestigious careers, and then working at a food processing plant and making 12,500 pesos, $250. So what I do is, my goal is I say, hey, look, you're obviously smart. How would you like to make 3 or 4 times more than you're making right now? And you can work from home in your pajamas. That's it. That's my pitch.
But yeah, probably my VA makes more than 12,000 pesos. She does definitely, and she works only part time. Well, for me, but she makes more than 12,000 pesos for sure, and he's not a chemical engineer, and he's not full time. So
Yep.
I think she makes, I think it's about 4,500 pesos a week that she makes, and works like 12, like 20 hours, some 25 hours, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, 25, 20, you know what? Like 20K, 20,000 like pesos a month is like a pretty solid roll in the Philippines. So I always try to start my starting salary like way over that. Like whatever people think is like a really great money over there, I just want to go way above that, because what I want to do is I want to attract good talent, like I don't want people that feel like they have to settle for a job. If you know that people can work for 12,000, 15,000 pesos and you offer that, you're going to attract people that, are worth that. But if you raise the bar and you offer more money, you're going to get a different caliber of people. My last advice, Fernando, would be, when you are going to hire people, by the way, I have no problems at all charging $1,500 a month to my clients. Like if you hire me at vastaffer.com, like we have two plans. We have $800 a month for a part-timer and $1,500 a month for a full-timer. And we function on about a 30% profit margin. But here's what's really interesting. I don't have a problem doing that, because the biggest problem is the hiring. It's the recruiting. It's getting the right person. And that's a headache to most people. And this is why we have job security, because we do the hiring, we do the recruiting, we do the managing, we do the firing, we do the replacing, which is a reality, by the way. Sometimes people need to have a baby, like Isabel. And Isabel trained her replacement, Tristan. I didn't even notice, right? Like, sure, there's things that me and Isabel have developed over the past year or so, but most of the stuff that she does on a day-to-day basis and a weekly and a monthly, like she taught him how to do, created SOPs, things like that, standard operating procedures. So that's the hard part. It's not delegating stuff. It's finding someone with those 3 values, right? The adaptability, the work ethic, and the give a damn. So that's what we do. Like, we specifically are recruiting all the time, trying to find the right people. And we are like a matchmaker for our clients. And it blows people's minds. We have, one of my clients alone has they just hired their 24th person through us. And when I say 24th, I don't mean like that's how many they've gone through. I mean, they have grown their business to a point to where they have 24 of our people working for them concurrently right now. One of our clients. That's insane.
That's a fifth of your workforce, pretty much.
We have one client based out of Arizona who just hired their 11th person through us. And now our Philippine staff is bigger than their in-house staff. I think they have 8 full-time employees, and now they have 11 of our contractors, our VAs. So it's just insane. Once you start figuring out ways to utilize and leverage a virtual assistant and you get your game plan together on delegation, wow, the sky opens up, especially when you actually have the reliability factor. That's the thing. I can't even tell you how many times I've heard the case of the disappearing VA. The VA who was doing really great, but then they just disappeared, or they got a new client, or they got sick, or whatever, right? It's because they don't have that work ethic and they don't have that give a damn. You could find the brightest, most smart person in the world, but if they don't give a damn about you and they don't have work ethic, all it's going to do is hurt you.
I had a VA that once disappeared for a week. Finally got a hold of him, and this is about 3 years ago. And when I finally got a hold of him, it's like, dude, what the hell happened? You didn't turn in your last, week's work. No, nothing. I don't know nothing about you. I said, oh, I started working for someone else. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like, so you didn't even quit? It's like, well, he offered me a quarter more per hour, and I took it. And I'm like, it didn't occur to you to ask me for a quarter increase. It's like, I didn't think you were going to give it to me. I'm like, I've been increasing your darn hours for since you started working for me. Now I'm increasing them. Don't you think I was happy with your work? I mean, it's like, I would have increased probably more if you had asked, and it's the bad thing. When you go cheap, it's a lesson I learned, when you go cheap, somebody's going to come and say, hey, how much? And these guys are always looking into groups, are always looking for noise. They're always offering themselves, but when you keep them happy, when they're like, when you value their time and you give them a good rate, they're not going to be looking around for who's going to pay them more because you're already paying them enough. So
for a friggin' 25-cent raise. Yeah. I actually had something very similar to that. And sadly, it was one of my project managers. And sadly, it was like this year. So I still go through the pain still. But I had a project manager who, left the company. Like, imagine this. You wake up one morning. Your project manager had just hired and trained like 10 new people that are starting this day, and they need to be assigned and they need to do shadowing, a lot of work involved. I don't even know who they are. And she's already hired 60 people, and most of them are her friends and family and neighbors. And she comes to me 30 minutes before our project management meeting on a Monday morning and says, hey, Jeff, please don't hate me for this, but I got a job offer, and it's a really great opportunity. I have to take it, and they want me to start in 10 minutes. A project manager, someone who was like very close to me, I considered like family, and we were building this together. And sure, there were ups and down moments, but there always is, right? But like, I considered her a close friend of mine. And, I had plans on coming out and meeting everybody, hopefully when the COVID crisis ended and all that stuff. And then this happens and everything dumped on me. But you know what was really interesting? The moment it happened, and I kind of announced it to the rest of my team, it was like a sigh of relief from the other leadership team. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, that she was very toxic. And I was like, really? I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. And I was like, really? And they stepped up and they actually took over her stuff really quickly. And now, like, what we're doing today is even better than that. So that's why I always try to see the lesson in everything that I do, because that's a very important thing. Like, what have I learned from this? What is the lesson? Because there's always a silver lining in everything that we do. Even the worst. As a matter of fact, I would even say not just even, but especially the worst moments. They have the strongest lessons that you could ever learn are the worst times.
Yeah, I mean, you get to learn from experience, right? And you get to learn how to deal with the next one. I mean, not everybody is management trained. Not everybody has the skill to have, an assistant, an employee, from day one. I mean, to me, I come from corporate. I grow from corporate. I know how to deal with people. For me, that has been natural. My family has always had businesses, and we always had to deal with employees. So, but I never had to deal with employees remotely. I never had to deal with employees that I really only see their face once in a blue moon when I decide to go in a Zoom call with them, because I don't have to. So it's very different to adapt to things like that. And then just one day you're like, where do you go? Because they don't have that personal connection sometimes with you to say, yeah, it was just a person that I knew in the internet. It gets unpersonal at some point. Now, with the ones I've been building that relationship. I tend to try to have a weekly calls, weekly meetings with them. See how they're doing, see how their agenda is. Ask them when are you planning for vacation before they didn't ask, and they were used to tell me, hey, I'm going on vacation, and it's like, okay. They didn't care to even notify me because they didn't. They're like, well, you don't pay me that week. It's like, oh, okay. So it's now I'm asking them, hey, I need to know your vacation ahead of time. So it's a lot of different things, right? That because they assume that because you're not on contract, they don't have to notify you, of anything. They don't tell you, hey, like, like now I tell me it's a woman is and it's in young years. Please let me know, if you ever when you ever get pregnant or something, so I know that in X amount of time I'm going to have to find your temporary replacement or train someone so that you can take care of that. I start asking those questions now because we're working next to each other. I mean, you start seeing the bump, but when you're online and they don't tell you, you have no idea. So, and it gets interesting how you have to adapt and how you have to start building operating procedures and how to communicate with them. And at the beginning, I had absolutely nothing of such thing in place. I
You
mean,
know, look, this might be hard to hear for somebody, but I will tell you that it comes back to those work ethics and give a damn. And that's stuff that you can test for, like you can set people up for failure and see how they do. You can see how proactive people are. The other thing is too, like, a lot of times when things don't work out, it's usually our fault. Like expectations aren't set correctly. And it's funny. I almost feel like I should write a manual on this, because there really isn't one. There's a lot of books like, for example, the 4-hour work week, right? Like the 4-hour work week is a total lie. It paints this picture of a guy in between two palm trees in a hammock, and that everyone's doing your work for you, and that you are free of any obligations and commitments except for just 4 hours a week, right? And I will tell you this, like, I probably work less than anyone that I know. I'll admit it. I work less than anyone I know. I've outsourced my sales. I've outsourced my support. I've outsourced all my project management. I've outsourced my creatives. I've outsourced my copywriting. I've outsourced literally everything in my business, right? I've either upsourced it to the project management team or I've downsourced it to the others. So, I mean, even my web design, I hired a guy in France, a really great designer. His name's Jordan. Like everything that I used to do in my business myself, I've removed myself. The only really, thing that I do in my business now is show up on podcasts or trainings like this. I do write some of my own articles. I do write some posts on Facebook. A lot of people don't like them because sometimes they're political. That's okay. But at the end of the day, like, I'm walking, living, breathing proof of what I call the 9-10 life, right? Like, it's just where I'm able to focus my life on the 10% that really matters, like spending time with my family. I'm able to do things I actually want to do in life. When I do focus on my business, it's on strategic things, very strategic, right? Like an actual CEO, like I'm a real CEO, not a CEO like most entrepreneurs, solopreneurs call themselves a CEO, right? Like a real CEO who is a strategic decision maker, and everyone else carries out the orders.
About 4 years ago, I told my friends that I was having a Christmas dinner party. With the people in my company. As a CEO, I was inviting everybody. It's like, man, how many people are you inviting? Well, just me, myself, and I. Because we entrepreneurs call, our CEOs of a company that has no employees whatsoever. So I see the joke, we're not, we have to have at least some level of delegation to actually consider ourselves a business. But there's another thing. You became TikTok famous a couple of months ago. Had a bunch of people that are no friends, are friends of mine that have nothing to do with the e-commerce business, nothing to do with influencer marketing, nothing to do with the industry at all, sharing me a TikTok video with a guy playing video games. So excited about being in some chair. What happened there?
Well, like I said, now that I have more time to focus on things that I enjoy, one of them is playing video games. I've always been a gamer. I've always been in esports since esports was not cool. And I definitely like the platform TikTok. And I went viral for many things, by the way. I just went viral again, twice the last couple of weeks. A couple million views. But my video gaming rig that I've got, which I'm actually in my office right now, so I don't have it here with me.
I mean, it's amazing.
If I would have known, I would have done the gaming rig interview with you.
I started Googling about how to build one, and my Lord, that's like 10 grand.
It's like 13 grand all in. There's the computer, which is already expensive, but then there's the gaming chair alone is like 4,600.
Yeah, I started looking at every single aspect of that, and I'm like, yeah, I can build it for like at least 10 grand. It's like, no. My wife will kick me out of the house.
Oh man, your wife would not be happy, would she?
No.
It actually took me a while to talk my wife into it, but I told her. It's funny too because people were like someone was like, "Oh my God, you wasted all this money," blah 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 blah, and I was like, what's funny? Let me ask you a question. And this is good. You print on demand people should get this. So especially print on demand, anyone in e-com actually would get this. If you wanted to advertise on a social media platform to the size of 20 million views, 125,000 followers, thousands and thousands of comments, and by the way, comments from big brands like SteelSeries Gaming, big brands like Sour Patch Kids, like the actual Sour Patch Kids brand, like celebrities commenting on my video, right? To be the #1 viral video for 2 days in a row on TikTok, September, I think it was September 2nd and September 3rd of last year. The most viral video on TikTok for 2 days in a row. And how much would that cost in ad spend to get that type of visibility?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, you mentioned all the views. You put yourself on any shirt that you have in your website for sale, you put a link in there, and that is going to go viral. I mean, you will get those $2,000 back.
And here's the
thing: something's going to go viral.
And here's the thing: I was wearing my Savage Marketer hat, wearing my Savage Marketer shirt, the same one I'm wearing right now, and my gaming rig has the Savage Marketer brand all over it, on the front, on the back. Is there a way I can share my screen on here? I'll show people.
Yes, you can. You just click the share button at the bottom.
All right, let me take a peek. Yeah, I think I got it figured out here. Hopefully this will show up right. Share screen.
Yes, as soon as I show, I have to prove it, but yes.
See if that works.
Yeah.
Did that work?
Yes, it's showing now.
Okay. All right. So I've got 3.1 million likes, not views, likes. Now, if we know anything about the engagement rate, we know that there's usually a 1 to 3% engagement rate, right? Which means, and by the way, engagement rate doesn't even mean like, that just means they've clicked on it or something. So to actually heart a video to get 3 million likes, you know how many views it takes to get 3 million likes? Let's take a peek. Here's a video I did 6 days ago that got 1.2 million video views. All right. So it has 40,000 likes, right? 1.2 million views, 40,000 likes. Now I'm going to whip up my calculator, which you probably
30
can't
to
see.
1.
Did you already do the math on it?
30 to 1.
That's 30 to 1. Okay. All right. So if I do
30 views for 1 like in that one, yes.
So that means to get 3.1 million likes, that means that I would have had to have 30 times that, right?
90 million views.
That would be like an estimation, 90 million views to get that 3.1 million likes. Isn't that insane? But it's funny because I've actually proven on TikTok that you can go viral on damn near anything. People always say you got to niche down. You got to niche down. You don't have to, actually. You just have to have good content. You have to have good content. Like here's 1.2 million about me and my dad going through a tunnel. See that?
You see a giant door open in a mountain. Oh, what is this? You go inside.
I saw that video a couple of days ago, and I never saw the follow-up. So I was always curious what was in that door.
Which was the point of my video. See, I got 1,300 followers from that video because people wanted to see part 2, and I gravely disappointed them, by the way. But here's another one. Here's a dog. I have a very expensive French bulldog. 1.6 million views. Even the follow-up video for that, 153,000. But then you have like a 12,000 to 10,000, 120,000. Then there's 1.2 million video views for my son called "Bring Your Kid to Work Day." There's my gaming rig, by the way. That's what I was trying to show you guys.
That is.
But see right there, it's the Savage Marketer right there on the rig, right? So that's my point, is that it's all about visibility. It's all about blowing things up. And the truth is the whole thing behind the brand, the Savage Marketer brand, is you can't do things the same as everyone else and expect different results. If you want to have some savage results, you got to have some savage marketing, right?
That's a fact, because everybody's doing the same over and over and over and over again. Same type of ad, same type of copy, but finding templates to do everything else that everybody's doing, and just not getting a little creative. Templates are not bad if you modify them to make them different, but they just fill the blanks, and it's like da-da, let's get something different. It's not going to happen. Get the template, modify it, use it as a starting point, as a canvas, but it doesn't do it.
And by the way, because I know this is going to the Print on Demand University, guys, there is a huge, or as Trump would say, huge, it's going to be huge. It's a huge opportunity on TikTok for e-com. Huge. People are killing it on here. All you have to do is have a really cool ass thing, and people will want to buy it. You just have to give them a way to buy it. And what I do is, you know what? I'm going to share my screen again. This is our last tip, I promise. All right, here it comes. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
So if you click on my profile link, it will take you to my dedicated landing page for TikTok on my website, jeffjhunter.com/TikTok. That's simple. And guess what's on here? An intro video talking about the gaming rig, tells them a little bit about who I am, talks about what this is, where to buy it. All of these are Amazon links that I get affiliate commissions for, right? So I have videos about 3D printers. Here's where to buy the 3D printers. Here's how I buy here's my gaming speakers they can get. Here's the video. Here's stats about the video. Here's more about me, right? But all of this stuff takes them to where to go buy the stuff. So I'm monetizing my TikTok. So imagine if you guys had your print on demand store and you had all these cool ideas and you do them, and you have a video of you making them, or have a video of somebody funny wearing it, or doing something funny in your attire, or doing something, and then in the bottom it just says, want the shirt, link in the bio. TikTok's easy. I've gone viral on TikTok so many times, and I'm a boomer. I'm a almost 40-year-old guy who's fat and a beard, right? Like, I'm 20 years older than the average viewer on that platform, and I've made it. So if I can make it, you can make it.
I haven't been able to make it. My videos don't take off on TikTok.
Here's the thing. You've got to look at people who are making it, and you have to figure out.
I have spoken to Rachel Pedersen multiple times about this topic. Yeah, you know.
We're gonna have to have. You know what? We're gonna have to do a whole other podcast on that subject. Okay. So bring me back, and we're gonna talk only about TikTok and how to market on there.
Awesome. I'll take you for your word.
All right.
Hey, everybody. It's an hour. Wow. That's an hour.
Well, that's exactly what I was like. Oh my gosh.
It went fast. So I hope everybody learned something about hiring a virtual assistant. And the bonus topic, TikTok. TikTok, actually, you go and check last month was the #1 downloaded app for social media once more. So that app is a fad at this point. I don't think so. I think that app is actually like here to stay. It's not like, you know, all these other apps that just come and go for social media. Even Clubhouse right now is starting to fade little by little. It was exciting at the beginning. It's not as productive as we thought once it was going to be, but TikTok keeps growing, and growing. So take a look at that. Also, do you guys want to learn more about Jeff's, a virtual assistant company? The link is on the description of this video. He made me freaking freeze with the phone there. I
was taking a picture.
But yes, definitely. And yeah, Donna, I mean, I would take him hostess for his word. Yeah, we have him for, Donna saying that I want to learn more from TikTok from Jeff.
Well, let me end with this, because I want to show you guys what possibilities there are. Look at this. This is my TikTok stats just from the last 7 days. So I've had 1.39, almost 1.4 million video views. I've had 74,000 profile views. 74,000 people liked my videos and wanted to learn more about me, so they clicked on my profile. I've had 52,000 likes in the past week. I've had 1,200 comments. And if we go to 28 days, there you go, 2.8 million. And it's funny because you can see, like, there's a bunch of days here where I didn't do anything, where I didn't do very well at all. I had like 13,000 views, 10,000 views. What's my lowest day? 4,000 views. Okay, so my lowest day looks like it was 3,900 views. And it's funny because people are like, here's what's funny. The bar is set so differently on TikTok. If I had 3,000 views on my YouTube, I'd be like, oh, hallelujah, right?
Oh, yes.
and here I am complaining about only 3,000 views on my TikTok. That's my lowest day, right?
3,000 views on YouTube, you're a celebrity. 3,000 views on YouTube.
The point is, guys, it only takes one. It only takes one. About 80,000 of those subscribers out of my 127 or whatever thousand subscribers, 80,000 of them came from that one video, from that one video gaming rig video. It just takes one. And that was probably like my 20th video at the time. And all the rest of them sucked.
Are you keeping track of the click-through ratio for that landing page, or? So
I do, and by the way, the majority of my website traffic comes from my TikTok. But that makes sense, right? Because I'm getting 7,500 profile views, so that means, whatever. Well, I guess I could do the math to find out how many clicks come from TikTok and how many profile views I get. I could do that math. I haven't. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I will.
I mean, I'm just curious, because we are always obsessed with the click-through ratio and how many people click and how many conversions happen and what is my conversion for this other product. And like, I'm getting this amount of conversions and I have this affiliate link. Is this affiliate link actually bringing me any money or not? We obsess over that crap, and I was just curious if you were obsessing about it as well. So, like,
well, obviously I lit up with joy talking about TikTok. I love it.
awesome. Well, Jeff, I'll let you go. Actually, Glow already held your accountable for you saying she already sent you a link to book for TikTok. I'm just looking at my phone and Glow is like, I call you for your word. So and there you go, guys. That's the awesome team having somebody in your team that is listening to the video right now. And as soon as I'm keeping track, before we even finish, she's already messaged Chef saying, "Hey, we want you for TikTok again." So
see a testimony of how amazing having an executive assistant is. Glow is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. She's not only saving my butt with managing my social media, but she's also a very good friend. So it's amazing to actually work with somebody who not only understands you, what you want for your business, but who understands you, what who you are as a person, and that it's a whole different. Has changed my business completely. My
Amen.
wife,
when someone actually is invested in you and they care about you, it changes the world, man.
It completely does. And my wife loves her, and so it's like she's always here to stay with me for a long, long, long time. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This video is going to be in the podcast probably tonight. It's already live on YouTube, so you guys want to go watch it on YouTube, you can replay it. And I don't know if it's in Facebook because Facebook has been tricky lately, but you should be able to watch this video as soon as it finishes as well. So thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks, everybody.
And speaking of VAs, send me the recording of this thing, and then my VA will chop it up into little value bombs and then remarket this on my accounts forever.
Yes, I can let you have that. You already heard.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.